What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you some initial details on an indie title I've been following for a little while, known as Shadow's Gambit: The Cursed Crew. This is from the same team that made Desperados 3, and much like Desperados 3, this particular title is a stealth strategy game, or for CRPG enthusiasts, it's kind of like real-time with pause, but with most of the emphasis being put on stealth. This game is supposed to be launching a little later this year, and it's one of the indie titles I'm a little more excited for, so naturally I've been following the development a little bit, and the developers for this one have been incredibly forthcoming with information, which is how I'm able to bring all of this to you. They've done several detailed dev diaries, they've done full live streams of the game that show the game in alpha, and much of this title seems to be expanding upon the things that worked out in Desperados 3, which is certainly the right move as that game was pretty highly praised. But with all of that out of the way, let's actually dive into some of the details here. In Shadow's Gambit, we play as a cursed group of pirates aboard a ghost ship known as the Red Marley. This takes place in a sort of alternate history version of the golden age of piracy that obviously has things like supernatural elements. Our cursed crew is going up against the Inquisition of the Burning Maiden, who just so happens to hate ghost pirates. But this particular game takes a lot of things about the genre and attempts to do some interesting things with them. For instance, stealth strategy as a whole has a pretty big emphasis on quick saving and reloading to try things again, and rather than use a proper quick load system here, they worked that into the mechanics of the game itself. The Red Marley, our ghost ship, seems to have time manipulation powers, which allows you to rewind to sort of set up and try again. The exact limits of this have yet to be seen, but that's more or less the gist of it. But before we dive into all of that, a few of the basics first. They've already let us know that when we start this game, we'll be ultimately dealing with up to 8 characters. However, we're going to start the game with 2. The ship's navigator, as well as our choice between one of 2 other companions. But ultimately, we will get 8 of them. These are predefined characters, each with their own abilities and things to offer, which is important because from the way they've phrased some of these dev diaries, there's going to be a lot of variable missions across all sorts of islands that we'll be sailing the Red Marley to. So both in terms of the characters we have available to us, as well as the order in which we choose to approach the missions, there's going to be a good bit of variance in how all of this plays out, which is certainly pretty promising. Now, in terms of combat itself, the game is of course mission-based, with some of these being shorter and some of them much longer. Some of the shorter ones are like maybe 15 to 20 minutes, with the longer ones being implied to take maybe like an hour. However, there's a lot of little details here. When you start up a mission, you'll be able to pick an entry point, which is already going to let you customize your exact approach, which can be especially useful depending on the characters you choose to bring along, as all of the footage they've shown here has us using 3 characters, so I'm going to assume that's probably the working limit. And each of these characters has different ways they can interact with the people around them to ultimately, hopefully stealthily, work your way through the mission. Now, in order to accomplish using all 3 of these characters at once, we can either control them individually to take down enemies one at a time, or we can use the Red Marley's powers to slow time, give all 3 of our characters instructions, hit the execute order, and allow all of that to take place at once. And from there, the game utilizes a variety of enemy encounters as well as enemy types to combat our ability to get around. So naturally, with this being a stealth game, enemies have things like reactions to noise that happens around them, discovering their friends have been taken down, things like sight cones, etc. All of those that we have to work around. In fact, some enemies in the Inquisition can ring giant alarms to alert everyone around, whereas otherwise they're only sort of aware locally what's going on. Though with it being a stealth game, we of course want to be stealthy. So many of these abilities allow us to take down enemies almost instantaneously, and once you're caught out in the open, you're gonna have a problem. As your characters can die on missions, but they can potentially be revived, as you are, after all, ghost pirates. However, if you die too many times or go down too much, you can only be resurrected back at the Red Marley. But if all of that wasn't enough, they also tell us that each of these individual ghost pirates that we'll get will have side quests and things that are unique to them that tell more of their individual story, like potentially how they became a ghost pirate. And then of course we have more standard things like varying amounts of difficulties, but after you are done with the story, you can actually go back and replay all of the missions to take on optional challenges and earn badges. That way you can focus in on on the full experience of just the missions themselves minus the story elements. And all of that together, I think, paints a pretty solid foundational picture of what to expect from Shadow's Gambit. And more than anything, to me, it looks like this is the game that Me Games, I believe is what their studio is called, just really wanted to make. They're actually kind of known for making stealth strategy games. And from the outside looking in, it looks like they took the success of Desperados 3 and decided to use that as a bit of a launching board to really go all in and make this the game they've always wanted to make, as pretty much everything they've shown off in this regard looks really cool, which is why I am looking forward to it, and it's one of the games you can expect me to review this year when it releases, but right now we do not have a set release date, so it might be a while. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this preview of the game. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.